Welcome to Build with Rob. I am Rob Dyrdek, CEO of the Dyrdek Machine, a one-of-a-kind venture creation studio where we manufacture amazing companies using our process we call the machine method. It is our passion to create companies with like-minded do-or-die entrepreneurs. And this show is all about the lessons that we have learned along the journey. On today's episode, our latest and greatest and newest super do-or-die entrepreneur, Ryan Babenzein. Look, when you have a chance to partner with a guy like Ryan, you jump on it. We have a machine method process here. It's very methodic. We go through the discovery phase, the diligence phase, and when we get through that, we decide at that golden gate, are we going to pull that trigger? And that usually, takes a couple of months to really get through. We want to understand that entrepreneur, understand the idea, but every now and again, there's going to be a grade A superstar entrepreneur with an absolutely amazing idea that you kind of push back through the whole process and you just want to get to a deal. And that is exactly what we did with this concept. I think everybody's going to really understand why after listening to him, what a world-class entrepreneur he is and how lucky we are to be able to create this new venture, Jolie, together. Ryan Babenzein. Welcome to Build with Rob. Welcome to the Dyrdek Machine. Welcome to Beverly Hills, California, to the penthouse where the Dyrdek Machine lives and sits. My friend, the first time that we have ever met each other is right here, right now on this podcast in this day because we now are partners in a brand new venture.
Can you believe it?
I can't, man.
It's good to meet you.
It's good to meet you. I mean, who would have thought in this day and age that you could meet somebody for the first time over Zoom? Because think about it, even if it was like a year ago, we would have had to call on the phone and then fly somewhere and meet to decide whether or not we could do a business together pre-COVID. But instead now it's like, okay, I know this guy's track record. I like the way that he's thinking. This is the right idea. Let's just get a deal done, right? And that's really kind of what happened. And, I'd love to, first I'd like to kind of understand what led you to ultimately connecting with Brian and wanting to reach out and connect with us as kind of being the right partners for you for this new idea?
Well, it wasn't what you think. And so Brian, I wrote this email. I got next was in the subject line.
Yeah.
And really what I was just saying is like, I'm working on something new. That's
Yeah.
what that really meant. I just hadn't talked to Brian. I was like, hey, I'm going to just check in and see what's up. It wasn't about let's be partners.
Yeah.
It was, I just want to share what I'm working on. And he hit me back in like a minute.
Yeah.
Like I sent him the email, tell him what I'm doing, because it was in sort of stealth mode for about six months.
Yeah.
2 calls on the weekend, then it's like with you.
Yeah.
And like that was the fastest I've ever seen a deal come together.
Yeah, no, it was.
But the point of me getting to Brian was just to tell him what I was working on.
Yeah, well, you lit a fire. You know what I mean? Brian has a ton of respect for you, just an admiration of just sort of you as an entrepreneur and what you did with Greats. And I'd love to kind of to get some insight to that. And I think that sort of trust in your experience, and then you just hear an idea. And someone that has deep experience in running a company and then sees an opportunity in a much different way and wants to attack it, you just know it's a much cleaner, clearer opportunity to go and ride with, right? I think that's why it was a shotgun venture creation wedding. You know what I mean? Like, and that you never even meet a guy till you're on a podcast. Like, let's just get to work.
Wiring money, and I never even knew you. I was like,
oh man, it feels so good to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Just send it down to the accountants and send it out east. We're building again, right? Like, it's just some sort of next level venture building. So I would love to understand your passion for being an entrepreneur and sort of your last venture and the experience you got from that and what you ultimately learned that led to creating the concept that we're doing together.
So it basically came down to I was tired of basically giving my work and my ideas and my effort to other people. And I just got tired of that. And I was like, this had always been in my head for years. This wasn't new, but I just was tired of working for people.
And at that point, you were doing work in marketing and footwear brands and different works for agencies, like all different
Yeah, I
types of
had a
things.
career, and I actually had 2 different careers, one in Hollywood and then one in footwear as a marketing director or executive ultimately. And, my brother's in the game. My brother was at Supreme for 15 years. Now he has his own brand as well called Noah. Little shout out. But we had just grown up in this space, but I was ready to sort of go do something on my own.
And let me ask you, like, at that point where it's like, okay, I'm sick of making everybody else rich,
Money.
more or less, right? Because it's like, it is that age old, like you almost see it in memes on Instagram all day, like spend a lifetime making somebody else rich or do it yourself, whatever the meme version of that is. But that really is the moment where you decide to like, I'm gonna take this leap and build a company. At that point, like when you think about what you knew in that era, was that probably like 2012,
Mhm. 2013.
2013, like compared to what you know today, like what do you think of the Ryan that started that company in 2013 as it relates to his view of what it would be like to create a company?
Well, these are vastly different planes of knowledge,
Yeah.
and I had a knowledge of culture, streetwear, footwear, marketing. I did not have a knowledge of building something from zero to somewhere.
Yeah.
And, I think founders are a unique breed. I actually think you're sort of you're born, you're not made.
Yeah.
I spoke at MIT School of Entrepreneurship once. And there's a very famous professor who wrote this very famous book on entrepreneurialism, and he sort of said, "Hey, we'd like you to come speak." And I said, "Look, I just want to warn you that I don't believe that what you're teaching." And he said, "Great, we
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
contrarian views on what we're trying to teach." And these are like some of the smartest people in the world, but they may or may not be entrepreneurs, is what I was getting at. Their education doesn't make an entrepreneur. So when I started Greats and ultimately sold it, that journey created a different knowledge base that I didn't have before. I thought I could do it,
Yeah.
but man,
Hey, but
yeah,
think about that
yeah,
though, right? Think about that because I'm cut from the same cloth,
yeah,
right? I've started 26 companies, right?
that is
And
unbelievable, by
right,
the way.
and since I was, 17 years old. And but I did it in so many different ways. It wasn't until I launched the machine in 2016 and wanted to begin to systematize it so I could organize my learning, right? And really begin to see even then after so many years of experience and then, I did so many companies, 15 over the last few years, the depth. Now I was looking at it as like, how can I learn more versus like when I did all the companies when I was younger, it was just like, let's just figure it out. You know what I mean? Like and I often look back on education as well. Man, if I would have at least learned the fundamentals, the way I would have approached business would have been so much different than like this gunslinger, full will, grit, determination, and like relentless work ethic just to make things come alive. Versus where now, like I operate from this point of view of seeing business in the multidimensional way and then trying to expand my knowledge in all aspects of it. That's why I ask you about how much you learn because I know without even saying it that like 2013 to 2020 is two entirely different like because think about I like to say that you used to like you would look at it, your depth of field was narrow and shallow, and now it's just like wide and deep, right? Like it's just a different sort of lens having that level of experience. But I'd love to really just hear sort of the journey and just sort of your process and some of the stuff you learned and just kind of from zero to the exit with grades.
Well, I mean, that journey is unique for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I think we glamorize and publicize these ultimate unicorn wins. That's how people think of startup land or entrepreneurs. Like if you're not Elon Musk, then you're not anybody. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There's just a spectrum of business scale, and sometimes you learn more with the failures or the losses at the lower end than you do when you hit, a B.
Yeah.
Because to hit a B, it's not about execution alone. It's not about a good idea alone. There's a bunch of other things that are just out of your control that go in your favor that generally create that level
Yeah.
of headline news success.
Yeah.
And like, funny enough, like today, a company that I was in the same fund like this venture investor invested in both of us, him about 6 months before and me 6 months later. Well, that company went public today
Mhm.
on New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
Grace has not. All right.
Oh, man. Oh, man, I could just feel the, like, oh, man, as you were just letting it out about 6 months before, you just said these
But
2 drink, whoa,
yeah,
whoa, whoa,
but
whoa.
so the journey for me though, look, I
Hey,
think
walk us through that, like, tell us sort of the,
well, I think the
like
commonality of an entrepreneur though is the same regardless of the outcome. And I
Yep.
think that entrepreneur's job is to turn red lights into green lights on a minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, week to week basis.
Yep.
Because it is nothing but hurdles and adversity for the most part. You're starting something from nothing. And whether that's a revenue goal or a production plan or how many pairs we're going to sell or how many units we want to sell or do we want to open this store, those are generally met with challenge.
Yep.
It's not like this inviting, come on in, you're new, great, we'd love to have you.
Hey, spoken like a hardened entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? It's like it is like there's a lot of talk to this day and age about don't glamorize it because if you're in it, you know how hard it actually is. But it is the challenge, and it's everything all day, every day. It's employees. It's like this issue. It's a supply thing. It's like it's like this nonstop sort of thing. Even at product market fit, even when you're growing and you're getting sales, like oh, then you're out of stock. You know, like you had spoken earlier, but it's like that sort of aspect of it. I do believe you have to be built for it. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And that's why like certain people are born to be athletes, certain people are born to be scholars, and certain people are born to be entrepreneurs. You can learn some of the skills. I'm not saying,
Yeah.
but like, it's just a fulfilling process, even when you're getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I find. I want to build things.
Yeah.
I like to go, this was a piece of paper. We wrote it down a few things. And then 5 years later, it's doing $20 million in revenue.
Oh,
Like,
I mean, look.
and like, that's fun to me.
I love it. You know what I mean? Like it's that the actual process of idea to like a rendering to a thing to someone buying it to scale is like this extraordinary thing that I love. You know, it makes me sad that in this particular venture that we're in, that we didn't have this conversation early, you know, as we were negotiating and building this opportunity together. Oh, I was just struggling, like, because I love, like, you know, because I love the way that you think. I know you're the real deal. I know you think the way that you need to be, and you found the right idea that has all the fundamentals to go out and hit the market timing and get lucky to create a huge opportunity, right? It just pains me to not know that me and you just had a conversation and just like, ooh, that's it. Bring it
This is
alive.
like the
Let's
live.
go.
This is a live renegotiation, everybody. You're hearing it live. This is how business really works.
And then it was like once I got past that, then it was like, all right, I just really want to do this company with you, and believe in the idea.
Well, I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, and look, and I think even in the first few minutes of meeting you and then just talking about
Which was
business,
14 minutes ago.
you know, it just reinforces not only my belief in sort of my instincts, right, but ultimately, like you also have that experience that went along with you know, having another venture in the full cycle, right? Of like from idea to then raising capital to then ultimately being acquired. There's just so much that's learned and that can be applied to to limit the amount of learning curve in the future venture, right? That I think a lot of people just um, don't often come to market, if you will, as an opportunity to invest in and partner with at an early stage, very often, right? Because a lot of times, like will go and build completely by themselves and or continue running that company for a significant amount of time. But before I jump into how we ended up here even further, just give me the brief history of greats, of highs and lows, and ultimately like what the path to exit and that sort of journey and a timeline.
It was believed that we could create a company that was gonna offer something premium, very clean, sort of neutral in style, made in Italy at a price that nobody in the world could do.
Yeah. And again, for those that don't know, Greats is a footwear brand that ultimately was, the intention was how do you deliver a 500 to $1,000 shoe for like 199, 179 type of thing was the
Right.
concept.
And we were the first digitally native, or what most people call D2C, sneaker company in the world.
Yeah.
And at that time, Facebook was a different place. We weren't advertising on Facebook, by the way. We didn't advertise for the first 18 months. Didn't spend a dollar.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
one
So
dollar.
where did those sales come from? Just
Well,
pure.
momentum,
Yeah.
energy. Instagram was something new, and we were leveraging that on a free basis.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people talking about us. All the press was writing about us, and something that was unique and still is today about sneakers and streetwear. That endemic channel has a disproportionate amount of media,
Yeah.
Hypebeast, High Snob, Complex, Sneaker News. It's just
Yeah.
for a category, it's really unique in how many places people talk about it.
Has its own core media.
Right.
And it's
There's no
yeah.
zip up jacket news channel, right?
Yeah.
But like sneakers,
Yeah.
there's about 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was becoming even bigger. So the timing of that, like people were just talking about us. And that really drove the first 18 months of growth, which was miraculous, to be
And
honest.
then did you just feel like, "We did it, I got this thing. This is it. Of course I'm an entrepreneur. I should have been doing this all this time."
No,
Okay.
because I'll tell you this is a true story.
Yeah.
We launch. We had our friends texting us because the press was out. Greats is launching at 12 o'clock today.
Yeah.
12 o'clock goes, 12:30, 1. People are texting us. What the fuck? Can't get on the site. We were 2.5 hours late on the launch time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
day one,
Yeah.
step one. Here are the quick lessons, right? Day one, we sold a pair of shoes every 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Amex didn't work.
Oh.
We looked back on Shopify, we're like, wow, we had 120 orders on Amex that couldn't go through because the site was broken. And then, so after this day with all of that trouble, revenue, like, oh my God, our sneakers were stuck in the warehouse in customs for like 3 weeks.
So you never
We
brought
couldn't even ship
in?
them.
They were like import?
We didn't even see them yet.
Wow. But why'd you do it? You were just like, it
That
don't
was
matter."
launch day. We were committed to launch day of August
Man.
8th
Wow.
to catch the back to school sessions.
Wow. And so what happened? Did people return, complain?
We had almost no returns,
Okay.
but we wrote multiple mea culpa letters to everybody that bought,
Yeah.
just giving the truth, telling them the truth.
Yeah.
Sorry, these are delayed. This is what happened. They weren't labeled right. They got stuck in customs. We've remedied it. They're finally getting to our warehouse. They'll ship out. And we did that like 3 times
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
course of 3 weeks
Man.
because we kept missing and missing and missing. But the point of that is that really is that's my journey, but that's not unique in that pretty much everybody that starts a company
Yeah.
has a version of that story.
Unless they have the experience, right? Because you wouldn't allow that to happen again. You would have pushed the launch date, said, "Wait till this is customs, make sure we clear this. Let's make sure we run checks for like you're gonna go and do like now." You wouldn't even. That's the the depth of the learning curve of what happens for first-time
That's
entrepreneurs
right.
versus experienced entrepreneurs, right? And I think that keeps growing over the years that go by, and each sort of bigger challenge that you were faced with, that you learned from, is just building in that arsenal to prepare you for, uh, the venture that you're building today, you know?
And I think that comes down to, like, a simple thing that we're taught when we're young, like, work hard or work smart. Look, nothing replaces hard work,
Yep.
but you can be smarter about how you do it, and those mistakes that we made in the beginning will happen less frequently
Yeah.
on the second time,
Yeah,
and
and look,
yeah.
I like, hard work is fundamental, but it's just the truth of the matter that you can work so hard, and so inefficiently. You know what I mean? Like, and you can also get the same amount accomplished without working like yourself to the bone. Like, you ultimately want to get something to where it's so automated and there's ease to it with time, right? Like, and easier said than done depending on the type of business that you end up creating, but you do want to get to a place where you're now optimizing and scaling customers and product line and ultimately your marketing and reach and distribution, as opposed to just fighting for revenue in every single sort of aspect and fighting to get customers in the very beginning. Because I think one of the things about footwear is, the lifetime value of somebody as it relates to how many they're going to buy of a shoe, especially on a yearly basis, it depends on the type of shoe and what it is in their, sort of closet, right? And for the most part, it's gonna be, 1, or 2 maybe, you know what I mean? Versus, like, certain products that are consumed, an energy drink or a healthy bar snack, like, is a month
Yeah,
over
every
month while
week
they're
they're
growing.
buying it
Yeah,
again, yeah. I
you know?
mean, that's a category specific thing, and that's
Yeah,
it's true. Some things are consumables are consumed more. You might have a stickier brand where footwear is harder. You just don't need them at the same level of frequency. But ultimately, after I stepped away from grades September of last year, so September 2020, and I was really contemplating what we're doing together now
yeah,
for years. It had been in something in my head for years. But I also wanted to give myself a little space to say, "All right, do I really wanna do this? Like,
yeah,
this is what this game is, so do you wanna play it? Do you wanna go run another company, which was another opportunity, or do you wanna go work at a fund, which is another opportunity?"
yeah,
Those
yeah,
were my sort
yeah.
of and I gave myself like, "All right, I'm gonna take 4 months and really think this through." And in 4 weeks, I was working on on
Yeah,
this.
straight up. Hey, no, that's the truth. Because it's also like, man, like, working for somebody, and there's the fund is interesting, right? Because then you get to see, you get to look inside of a lot of things and how people are walking, and I think a lot of people that go and work at a fund and then go build again, like, it gives them a refreshed look at a space to kind of find another opportunity potentially. But, running, if you went and were like the CEO of another footwear brand, like, boy, you're just like, now you're going through basically the same pain, for a check. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? For a more consistent and maybe some upside depending on what that footwear brand was that you probably, had that opportunity on. But that's still a tough thing versus, like, the feeling of, like, had this idea, created this thing, brought it to market. Now it's so much easier to fight for something that, like, um, that you created, right? It is like creating a child, more or less, you know?
Yeah, and you bet on yourself if you have entrepreneurs bet on themselves. That's another thing that's common about all of them, right?
Yeah,
You bet on yourself, and that is a scary no net
yeah,
high wire act,
yeah.
but that's what entrepreneurs sort of embrace.
Yeah, and I think it again, with experience, when you get better and better at viewing opportunity and understanding the pathway and the pitfalls, right? It's like, knowing, it's we talk so much about minimizing the burn, right? I would say almost like, in the beginning till revenues there, like, make sure of really managing your cash. I think the biggest thing for people that are able to go out and raise money too is you raise, a couple $1 million and let's start the company, and you just start like burning money and hired a marketing guy and got a brand manager, and like you're just burning money, and like, oh, like in almost every single venture that I launched in the machine in the first vintage, I would say the 2016 17 vintage, every single one of them was 6 months to a year behind. Every single to getting to market, every single one of them, um, you know, burned needed probably, $1.5 million to $2 million, and burned through the capital that they had before they ever even got to market. Right. So now you're like going out the capital, like now we're ready to go, and we're worth a little bit more because now we have a product. Right. It's like to me,
We're not gonna do that, by the way.
no, we're not. We're not. Look, we've
Just so
both
you,
grown out of that.
we're not doing that.
We've both grown out of that. And to me, it's also the idea of you gotta you until you see that clear shot to revenue, and then even then, it's like until you begin to create growth, because you want to have the actual growth to validate if you need more capital, to limit that to the dilution, right? You just don't want to get caught in that place where you're just like raising money to keep trying to like figure out how to make it work, especially on a note where when that thing finally converts, it's just you know what I
You're in
mean?
the
Like,
bottom of the stack.
you know what
You
I'm saying?
guess what? You are working for somebody.
Yeah, for real. Like you really are working for capital now. And look, most like people that get it, and entrepreneurs that like think like, oh, I want to raise money. And there's nothing wrong. Raising money is like I think there's two worlds to it. There's some people that are like, oh, this world of people raising money isn't how it used to be, versus like the people that glorify raising money as the victory rather than growth, success, and the actual business finding consumer and growing is the success, right? Like, but it's still raising money is a great thing. You can raise money from great strategics. Us being partners and investing with you, we come with this depth of knowledge and a way to amplify and ultimately be a support system for you, like wholly, right? And that's beyond the capital
Well,
that
this is
that we put
another. I
on,
think
right?
this is another great lesson. I had raised. Don't if you want to talk about VCs, like I can talk about that a lot here, by the way, and it isn't
Yeah,
going to be pretty. People
yeah,
aren't going to like what I have to say, and
yeah.
they know
Tell
who
us,
they
tell
are.
us your
But
lessons
but the
from
lesson
that.
is pick your partners wisely. Right, that is my lesson that I learned, and I think you're right. Glamorizing fundraising is there's nothing glamorous about fundraising.
Yeah,
You might as well get on the fucking corner with a hat and just start dancing
yeah,
because,
man.
like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm not good at that. I'm not good at asking for money. What I am good at is presenting an opportunity. This is the narrative. This is what we're going to go build. So if I can get out of my own head and just focus on the job, because it is a
yeah,
job. It is a means to an end. We all need capital to do things. But there's very few businesses that don't have a need for capital. It's just raise the right amount is always my
yeah,
advice. Don't be negative on it and don't raise too much because that's equally as bad.
yeah,
But first time founders may glamorize the process
yeah.
and think that, it's a win and a success and it's really just the starting line of going backwards because you start spending and
Ah, man.
you gotta refill that thing.
Hey, it is literally the starting line of going backwards. Like you have the moment, like it's not like this glorious thing. It should be like now the real panic starts. Yeah, it's like
The
tick tick
clock
tick
goes in
tick tick.
reverse.
Yeah, it's just like, and man, I'm imagine doing it over and over and over, where you keep raising money and allowing burns to start when and seeing product delays and just watching that thing just tilt all the way back is is really painful as this venture hybrid of kind of putting up all your own money and doing multiple ventures and relying on partners to drive ultimately the production and the go to market and the product and the marketing, where you're here to support it, and then that like drag like back to back to back. That was probably the deepest lesson that I learned as it's related to, like, managing capital and capital staging, and how, like, the moment you launch that thing, it is the dogfight now. And it's like, what can you do to accelerate to getting product market fit and finding the right consumer that connects with this thing and now becomes your revenue source, right? Like, that's our, going to be, like, the thing
Yeah,
that
I
we
mean,
fight for, you know what I mean?
and it's funny because 'cause you've been through this 26 times, so you
Yeah.
have even more knowledge on this, but you wanna start generating revenue as soon as you possibly can, and I actually, looking back, you said something, "Oh, you would know better, you would have delayed the launch." Is that better? Maybe, right? Because we were generating revenue. We
Yeah.
just had to ask for forgiveness to some of our consumers,
Yeah.
but we had started to put money in the bank. And, like, there's something to that,
Yeah. Yeah.
as, like, we talk it through, like, well, you better ask for forgiveness
Yeah,
than run out of cash.
yeah, and maybe, but would you? Would you? Would you if you knew it was just going to be like, "Hey, they're gonna be stuck in port for a while,"
I
like
wouldn't have done it differently, to be honest.
yeah.
I would have done it the same
Yeah,
way.
look, as your advisor, I would have said, "Look, it's your call, it's your company, but why go through the pain of, like, all these people getting a bad taste in their
You sure you
mouth,"
wanna
you know
do
what I
that?
mean?
Some negative connotation
You
there.
know?
Bad
Yeah.
customer experience.
Yeah, look, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't rethink that a little bit?
I would.
Yeah, and look, I think all of them because it's not like you're not gonna be faced with that type of questions and decisions and challenges the whole way through, as you spoke of earlier, you know? So, what I'd love to get into now is the concept of Jolie, where it came from, and ultimately the vision as you see it right now. And then I'd like to then kind of add on to that of what I really love about it, what I love about you as an entrepreneur that led to this idea and the opportunity. Then I'd love to dive into sort of a lot of the stuff we looked at in the discovery immersion that we did to kind of give some insight further to the opportunity as well. So tell us about like the vision for Jolie.
Yeah. Well, Jolie is a beauty wellness company, and, um, our first product is gonna be a shower filter. As I say that, people are probably gonna listen and go, "What? How could a shower filter be a beauty and wellness tool?" And I'll start where the idea came from. I was actually I mentioned earlier, it was years. I was on holiday. I was down in Tortola on a break, and I was like pondering like what would I do next? And I actually came up with 3 attributes of a business that the business would have to have these: cater to vanity or vice, and I chose vanity, which ultimately was like do good,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
No sizes, because like in footwear, you learn
yeah,
about sizes and fit.
yeah, yeah,
Like, nope, don't would like to not do that. And the third was a high frequency of use, like something that you use every day habitually without question.
yeah.
And those were the parameters. And I came back, wrote that down on a whiteboard. Couple years later, years,
Wow.
I was in the shower. I was like, something's wrong. There's something in the water. I bought a filter, and like my legs were just not as dry as they used to be.
Yeah.
Like the filter worked. And that
And
was
up until that point, you'd never even like
no,
contemplated it. It
no.
was just like, man, I know it's this water that's making my skin dry or
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
So at the same time I was paralleling this, I was one looking for something that was gonna work and that was aesthetically nice, that fit our aesthetics in the bathroom. And two, I was researching water. And then this collision happened, and I was like, "Holy shit, I know what the next company is, and I know what the hero product's gonna be, and we're gonna solve the problem of unhealthy water for better skin and hair health."
Yeah.
And that's how Jolie came to be. And what people do not realize is the water in this country, all of the municipal water is filled with harmful contaminants, which is primarily chlorine, which we need to make water safe for drinking. But that chlorine is really bad for your skin, and it's
Yeah.
really bad for your hair, and it's really bad for your overall wellness. Like, it
Yeah.
actually, the skin is the largest organ in your body. All of that stuff just goes into your body, and you shower from the time you're 8 till you die.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
know.
that's a long
It's
time.
it's really when you start thinking about, like, just, like, it, like, building up and, like, you're just your fluffy organ of skin just trying to live, and it's just getting filled with chemicals over and over. And so, when you discovered the opportunity, what led to the name Jolie?
Well, my wife's name is Jolie,
Okay.
and it also means pretty in French.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a double entendre. And it just felt right. Like, I like to humanize brands, and I
Yeah.
think that our approach is gonna be very real and very conversational, and Jolie is gonna be like your friend.
Yeah.
And it will be this thing that you actually look at every day and have a relationship with in a very intimate way, because the shower is a place of discovery, energy, resetting, thoughtfulness. Like, think about the shit you do in the shower every day. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
good ideas come in there.
Yeah, no, I do wanna touch on the fact that, in my effort to try to put more of a stamp on the opportunity, I did try to push you to, rename the brand. Um, and what I'm telling everybody here is I tried to push this man to change his wife's name off of this concept so that I could appease my need, my, my personal need to be able to be part of naming a brand because it's one of my favorite parts of the concept. I try to be like, what about, but you sure your wife wants
He's
to
like,
have
"What
the
about
same?
Rob? How do you like the name Rob?"
No, no, no. What about Robert? Do you, do you,
It's
what
French for good looking.
it's French for relaxing,
Hey, look,
so
there's gonna be plenty of time for
yeah.
naming convention
Yeah, look, it's
things,
not the
because this is
same, it's
just
not
the
the same.
it
Not only do I get excited about, like, the process of, like, when coming up with it, but going through it, but going through I just love it so much, and then I really like when names connect to the core value prop, right? And but we didn't do that with Luso, right? Because we wanted since Luso was, "Hey, we're going more for this comfort brand and, like, want, the typography to be soft, we want the sound to be soft," it was connecting to it, but different, right? And then not like something like Mind Right, which is like, outstanding, pig out, these brands that then connect directly back to the value proposition of the product. There's sort of an elegance, like, that needs to
well
happen.
well, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
the Jolie Skin Company means the pretty skin company. That is a value proposition.
No, so to me, like, and, we in our negotiation, I kept kind of poking, "What about this Joe?" And you would sell me on, "It's really a lot of people are talking about it's really starting to feel good to people." And, like, you didn't tell me, like, "No, we couldn't." You kept saying to me, "Whatever's best for the opportunity, we can do." Right? So
Entrepreneur Ruled
you
101.
yeah, so you
Never say
can
no.
yeah, hey, you were just like, "Hey, not saying that we can't," and it really over time, you were right, right? It really does, and it does connect back to, beautiful skin and hair and just ultimately, like, but it's not on the nose, right? And it has, like, since it does, feel more humanized, right? And more connected, and then when you look at the space, there's then nothing like it, right? Like, I think that's the other side of it too, where you nailed it dead on, right? And let me just say, like, what I'm it was a shotgun, venture deal from our side. Where normally we like to start from the idea stage, go through discovery, begin to do a deep immersion, see the insights, begin to shape it along the way as we're understanding who it is, and as we're going, then we go through diligence and begin to put the brand together and really have a deep understanding of the opportunity before we pulled the trigger. We just skipped all that, pulled the trigger. Let's just go for it, right? And there was two factors. One is your experience, and could tell in talking to you a few times of, like, now this is how you actually have to think. this is truly like I'm gonna go and everything that I'm learned is going to lead up to creating and making a successful venture from this opportunity, which is always the right timing. But I like to say someone's magnum opus, right? Like their opportunity to take all their knowledge and to create their greatest work as an entrepreneur. In when it was first shared to me of like, yeah, it's like something in like beauty water. I thought it was like a ready to drink collagen drink. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm like, man, we can't be like diving in like this guy's trying to launch a collagen water. This is like really what I thought. And then like it took me but a second to understand the concept of like, and then immediately I just searched everything, asked my wife, like, and because I immediately could see the consumption, like, oh my God, you got the hardware, then you have the filter, right? That if somebody really, if this really makes a difference and really improves their quality of life and quality of skin and hair, like they'll be loyal to it forever. And then that filter becomes this reoccurring. I in an instant, I'm like, it validated the opportunity and you even further to me because then it's like, okay, this is somebody with experience, how they should be looking at an opportunity, right? And that's why it made it really easy. Um, even really, that like even with really searching and looking at the filter market itself and how it's been approached, it's clear that nobody has really attacked it and really made something that matters and communicates how important it is to filter the water if you want your very best skin and
Yeah,
hair,
and
right?
look, we think that CPG beauty is traditionally a CPG business, right? It's
Yeah,
a consumer packaged good. You buy a thing, a topical, a lotion, a serum, or whatever. And that's fine. And they have efficacy and they do something. But they won't be as good as they could be if the water is harmful.
right.
And it is. And
Yeah,
we can prove it. I mean, we have a database of every water supply in the country by zip code that is not developed by us. That's developed by the state by law. They have to report what's in the water. And we'll just show you. And then you can sort of make a decision like, do I want this in my shower and bath water or do I not? And I think we all inherently understand that the levels of chlorine that are in our water are not good.
yeah,
Like they're just not.
yeah,
And if you strip that out, which we do, and other contaminants that we won't get into right now, but there are a sort of a list of the top 10 offenders, if you will, people will see a result in a week,
yeah,
full stop, and we'll guarantee it. And if they
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
we'll refund your money.
yeah,
Like we're giving a 60-day money back guarantee
yeah,
because you're gonna just see a difference and feel a difference. And as you said, that's sort of a lifetime commitment. And and then that becomes this is the most essential tool in your beauty and hair arsenal
yeah,
because it's not about what you put on it as much as it is like the water you're using first. Let's solve that. And then what you put on it is going to even be better. So
yeah.
it's a daily routine. And once somebody tries it, we just think they're lifers. Like we just don't think they're ever going to leave.
All right, let's talk about, part of our process is we like to do immersions. We like to do a big
Yeah,
immersion.
deep
So
dive
so look, and I
immersion.
love them. You know what I mean? I love every part
Either
of the
top,
process,
down,
but boy,
sideways.
oh man, any which way but look
I
now.
wish we had it on the
Oh
screen. We
man,
should just walk them through it.
if we had this on the screen right now, this podcast would be like 4 hours long. It's
You better
95
get your
pages. You know what I mean?
pencils.
I'd be curious to I love them, like not where they're going to give you any direct answers. Like, 'cause I think you can get something like that, and anybody can gather insights, right, and point in any direction. I feel like those documents are basically built for people to just know. I think diligence as a whole is built for you just not to do something, right? It's not like you know what I mean.
Tell me why we say no again.
Yeah,
Give
it's
me
just
more
like here's all the
documentation.
reasons of saying no, right? So what I love about I think that immersion, all 95 pages of that glory of both the shower head industry and ultimately a lot of beauty information. really validate your vision, right? And a couple of key things, right? Like number one, there was a big thing that like 85% of the United States doesn't trust their water, right? So there's already like a distrust in sort of like how the quality of water that already has to be filtered a lot of different ways already, right? And why people drink bottled water and all that. I think, another, when you really look at those who spend the most money are in beauty, they really care primarily about their hair and skin, right? So it's like even that sort of range, and it's it's mainly a 19 to like 40-year-old sort of like biggest share of wallet. But I think that's ultimately when then now you triangulate that with every single thing in the space, right? When you look at every single brand that's creating a water filter system for skin, they're almost all sort of antiquated older brands, right? So it's like it just begins to make it even more clear of that that the opportunity, it is really white space. Like there's some people dabbling in it, but nobody's come in and tried to own this space, which I think, it falls in two ways. When it's that wide open, you got to make the market, right? Like I almost look at that as probably when I look at challenges like big ones, like okay, what's the big challenge? Like okay, this is making the market. At the end of the day, like it's now convincing a significant portion of people that care, which is a large audience, consumer base, that like you need to focus on your water first. Is there's a general education to it, because in the data now, the filtered systems is now a relatively small size of the market, right? Like of the $3 billion market size, the actual filter and shower head system with the filter is closer to like 600-700 million, right? So you really got to go out and make the market. But I think it to me validated ultimately your vision of like, nope, it's skin, it's quality of water matters. This is what means the most to them. If you can solve this for them, they're gonna have better in hair, skin. Their products are gonna be better for them. I think that, albeit a very hardcore 95-page document, to me really validated your entire thesis in the opportunity.
When you said validation the first time you just taught it, you were talking about the immersion. That is the word that I was gonna say back,
Yeah,
because when you sent me that, I was like, "Oh, wow, this further validates
yeah.
our entire thesis on the space." And we did our own version of that, not not quite as in depth, but it made it even more, it gave it more clarity. And the fact is that there are micro players in the market. I think their approach to the market is not right. Our approach is gonna be very novel and unique. Um, we're branded different. We're talking about it different. We're going to communicate different. We're going to be relevant. And I think all great brands create relevancy, which is essentially conversation all over the place.
Yeah.
Everybody talking about you everywhere. We're not talking to plumbers.
Yeah. I know.
We
Oh,
although
man,
we might,
man, get
but
those old hard and
but
fat sausage fingers. Get those things nice and smooth with the Jolie water
that's
filter.
not
Yeah,
our core audience, but traditional shower heads, they are.
yeah,
And we're not taking that approach at all. I think, we think design really matters. I think style is an important play here. And we've often said the design of Nest, the efficacy of Brita for better skin and hair quality. And like I use Nest as a comp because before Nest, people didn't really think about their thermostat as any sort of thing other than a thing that turned on the heat
totally.
or off.
Yeah,
That box right behind me,
yeah.
that's actually a nice one.
Yeah.
It's like silver. It's
Yeah,
aluminum.
no.
It's not like beige plastic with a red
because it's
slider.
from like the 50s
Yeah,
when it
that
was
looks
like they
like
were trying to be
look,
like
it's like
mid-century modern. You know what I'm
they're
saying?
like, "Well, we're gonna take a cue from aeronautics and put that gauge on there," which it kind of reminded me of.
yeah.
But then Nest comes along and creates this sort of a status symbol, really, like an identifiable, high style, high function tool that didn't exist before. And then they sold the company for a few $1 billion a couple of
Yep.
years later. And that is sort of the way we're approaching the market. Like, we just think there's opportunity from here into the entire room of the bathroom,
Yep.
all focused on better skin, hair, and wellness.
Yeah. Look, I'm glad we made it happen. It's been a lot of fun. Every conversation, this has been a lot of fun. I think I will get to learn a lot from you inside this journey as well. I think your process is and way of thinking is not only right, but it's this like let me micro fail 95 times before saying yes or no. Like let's get around. But it's the energy that it takes to win. I'm curious since you don't. We've only spoken a few times, and now we're partners, right? now, look, that's it. We're bound together. We say build together, bound forever, man. We're partners for life now. Any questions that do you have for me? Just anything you would like to know that maybe you're curious about me.
Wow. I hope I learn from you. Like you want to learn from me, I want to learn from you. That's what good partners should do. I don't know if I have any questions that come off that I could ask on this show, so I won't.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Let's keep it for the college kids.
But I really do respect what you've built. Like and have seen your journey on TV, by the way, and then like to where you are still on TV, but like this entire machine that you've built. That was inspiring because when I told people, hey, because we were oversubscribed in our note, like we had some other investors that were sort of in position.
Yeah.
And I sort of shot all that down to go into business with you.
Yeah.
And that was sort of my like Rob's evolution from what I could see and what I could learn in our discussions was inspiring to me. So I'm hoping to learn from you as well.
Well, look,
I already have.
Yeah. You've been sending an email to your wife each morning?
Brain training every day. Getting up like gratefulness.
Hey,
like I'm doing.
Hey,
I'm not joking.
You get up every day at 4:30.
Well, I'm not there
say
yet.
What you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And brain train and meditate.
Yeah.
We're guaranteed a mega X.
Dude, I'm doing 2 to 3.
Yeah.
I meditate. I meditate in other ways.
All right, look, I got a gift for you. Okay. This is a Dyrdek Machine.
Oh my God.
Citrine Abundance Stone. Okay. By possessing this.
I can't handle this kind of wealth. I don't know if I might not be that responsible.
Listen to me. By taking this with you on your journey, you are guaranteed extraordinary abundance, both financially and spiritually. So, Ryan, it is a privilege to be in business with you.
Do I take it with 2 hands?
And may you take this abundance zone and generate extraordinary wealth for yourself and your partners down here at the Dyrdek Machine.
Dude,
Thank you for coming along for the ride, being on the show, and I look forward to doing many more as we build this company over the next few years. Man.
Likewise, I appreciate it.
Till next time, this is Rob Dyrdek and Build with Rob. All right, that is it for our show. Make sure you follow Build with Rob wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, if you watch it on YouTube, make sure you subscribe at YouTube.com/Dyrdek Machine. And look, if you want to join the process, be one of our consumer collaborators and be inside the machine method, go to dyrdekmachine.com and become a machinist. We want to have you here. And now, if you got an amazing idea, you are a true do-or-die entrepreneur, then you find Are You a Do-or-Die on dyrdekmachine.com and you pitch us an idea. You might just end up on this show. And look, no matter who you are, You got to have the eyes to make sure it's happening. You got to make sure in your heart that it can be real. And you got to know you got the energy to push it forward. It is see it, believe it, and do it. Until next time, I'm Rob Dyrdek.